At any of our Rutherford County locations. 860 Northwest Broad Street, on Church Street in the Barfield area, in Smyrna on Sam Ridley, and Toots West on Franklin Road at Rucker Lane.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show with your hosts, Rick Hall and Wayne Blair. We come to you every Tuesday morning here, WGNS Studios in Murfreesboro, and we try to focus on things going on in the north end of the county. And got a good show for you on tap today. And good morning, Wayne. How are you?
Good morning, Rick. Doing very well. Enjoyed the AFC and NFC championships Sunday, and the Mahomes magic is still there. I have to admit, I kind of wanted to see some different bodies in the Super Bowl, but I think this will still be pretty good.
I do. The Swiftie magic is working for the Kansas City.
No doubt. Isn't it way cool that we have 4 Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders in the Super Bowl, and so many of the Power 5 schools only have maybe.
Now say what you said out there. There's only 2 UT guys. Go ahead and say
well,
it.
I just you got 2 Power 5 guys and our 4. I just think that's so way cool. So very pleased for Blue Raiders to be represented so well. So I have to admit, Juwan Jennings from Blackman and UT has played very well for the Niners. So
he came up through the Smyrna Youth League also.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did he play for Coach Carter?
I don't know. Probably came after Coach Carter and slowed down.
May have to investigate that a little bit. Call one of the sons. So, but we're right in the throes of winter, and looking forward to getting a little milder, hopefully. So, this morning it's our honor and pleasure to have 2 great friends, H.G. Cole and Steve Sullivan, members of the Smyrna Town Council, and great servants and great friends. And of course, we also get to see H.G. at Rotary. Rick, fellow Rotarian, and Steve, I think you have to work for a living.
That's right. That's right.
But I think you've been on the show before, and we always have our guests tell a little bit about themselves, and if you want to do that again, whatever amount of information you want to share, why don't y'all do that, and then we'll get into the weeds a little bit here in a bit.
You'll go first. Well,
you got to move close to the microphone.
Me and microphones don't always get along. Been on the Smyrna Town Council for a number of years. Actually was first elected in 1993, which seems like a century ago. And the last couple of years I have sold my business, which was Lou Pros on 41 in Smyrna. For those who know, it's right across from Smyrna Town Hall. That's an old commercial.
I was going to say, I recall that commercial.
But getting adjusted to being retired, and sometimes I just call it unemployed, and sometimes recently, and only recently, it's been like, okay, what am I going to do today? Because most of the time it's been like, how did I ever have time to work? Because the days are full.
Sure.
But enjoying the living in the metropolis of Smyrna, Tennessee, and it's been quite interesting to watch it grow over the years, and looking forward to what can we do to keep it with the small town flavor that we've been able to preserve.
Compared to the size of the town when you and I were in high school, it really is a metropolis now.
Yeah. Smyrna High School on Hazelwood Drive was Back in those days, we had a gravel parking lot. Remember
Right.
that out there? And, there was probably 30 cars in the parking lot out there,
And some pickup trucks.
and some pickup trucks. But, in those days also, it was kind of interesting that so much of the town social activity revolved around the schools. And as we expand and built the mega schools and such as that, I believe we lose a little bit of that feeling which goes with the hometown atmosphere.
Well, there wasn't
But
that
I mean,
much-
it's growth. It's part of it, and it's what's to be expected.
Well, there wasn't that much to do except, the high school and the junior high athletics, and I guess the parks athletic program hadn't grown quite.
Oh, back in
Yes.
those days, we had. They didn't have football. They started football, I think, in about 70 or thereabouts, probably.
Yeah.
And no basketball leagues, but there was baseball.
Yep, always baseball.
Always baseball.
Mr. Sullivan, I think it's your turn to
Yep.
share.
I don't have quite that history with Smyrna. I was born in '71, so there's
Took you
always
a long
been,
time to get your credentials to get into town.
Yeah,
didn't
there's always been football since I've been around.
I was
But,
a senior when you were born. That got
start calling you Papa Wade.
Well, I've gone by some names, and that would be a nice one, I
Yeah.
think. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been on the town council since 2016, so I'm finishing up my second term this year, and have an election coming up in 2024. So always look forward to the next, I guess, 8 or 9 months are kind of hectic.
Yes, sir.
I graduated from Smyrna in '89. Ricky and I
Another
graduated.
class of '89.
Yeah.
You notice that, Wayne?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
I don't know what the rest of the classes of Smyrna are doing, but '89 is well represented.
Well, we're not going to debate that this morning, but we can.
I can pull some names out from 75 for you now.
Yeah, there's a few. That we've probably told you guys that before, but on
Yes,
our
sir.
town council, all of us are Smyrna graduates.
Love that, too.
Three graduated in '75, and 3 graduated in '89, and 1 graduated before '75. And I won't say any more than that. But, so yeah, it's kind of a unique council to be a member of, because we're all vested. We all have raised our families there. We were all raised there, so we remember when Smyrna was, a 2 or 3 red light town. You said there's nothing to do in Smyrna. We pretty much went to football games and cruised up and down the strip, and that's about it.
That's right.
So, that's what I remember about Smyrna. That's what my fondest memories. Going to get some ice cream on Friday night and just riding around town all night. That was kind of the, I guess, the regular weekend.
Did y'all have the dairy dip?
We did.
Okay.
Yep. There was
Was
also
it called the Dairy Pride, though?
it was the Dairy Pride.
Dairy
yeah.
Pride,
Yeah.
yep.
I think all the cute girls work there, too.
Yeah, now they're all over town. They're scattered
Yes.
about. But,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's been a joy, a lot of fun to serve. I've learned a lot from some of the council members been around a lot longer, like HG and Mark and Tim, and it's been fun. I honestly, when I first started doing it, I was on a couple of boards and thought, I'd like to get involved and know more about what's going on in town. I really didn't know how much I didn't know until I got involved. And when I mean involved, on the council. I remember
Let me interrupt you there for a second and just talk about those boards and such as that, because we do the appointments for those in March, and we're taking applications for those now. So
got
you
a slide for that.
You have a slide for that, but you can go to the Smyrna Town website and fill out an application to be on the boards.
Yeah, we've got, I don't know, maybe a dozen or so boards that we're looking for members for right now, and those will be appointed in March. So now is the time if you want to get involved in a council, a committee or a board. Now's the time to go out to the website and look for what fits you.
And that had to be a good foundation for you to get to serve on those prior to being elected. Of course, sitting on the other side of the table is always a learning experience, even no matter how long you sat out in the audience. But
Yeah.
that had that had to be a great learning experience.
Yeah, I think I served on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I still do. I'm the chairman for the BZA, but I've been on that board for, I don't know now, 10, 12, 15 years maybe.
Wow.
And I served with Alfred Fan. Alfred taught me a lot about being
Great
on a
guy.
board and how
Great
to
guy.
serve. And it definitely taught me a lot about the ordinances and, the kind of I guess the plans and the layout of subdivisions and how developers and homeowners want things to develop. It gives you a perspective. If we set a set of guidelines for developers to follow, and we approve that subdivision, and then that subdivision gets built, and homeowners want something different, they'll end up coming through the BZA. And so you kind of get a perspective of, hey, what did we miss the mark on? Did these houses didn't have enough backyard, or they didn't have enough side yard, or they didn't have a big enough driveway. So you kind of get to see some of that because they're coming in asking for an exception to fix it, basically. And it helps you get better and learn what to do next time that'll keep that from happening. So we've done a lot, modified some ordinances. We started seeing kind of reoccurring things coming through the BZA. And we said, maybe this doesn't make a lot of sense that every time someone needs to set up a fireworks tent, they got to come to the BZA. That should be something staff can approve if they meet a certain criteria.
Sure.
So we've modified some ordinances and stuff to streamline the process, and that's really, I think that's really what we're supposed to do is learn and get better.
So with that many board members, what are some prerequisites or requirements of somebody? Obviously, you said you kind of went into it a little bit blind and they educated as you went. So it's not so much you need a background, let's say, for the board you're going for, but I guess living in the town limits and having the time for whatever the day of the week that they meet for the schedule. So there's a quorum and be able to conduct business, right?
I think that's actually, obviously you got to live in the city limits of town of Smyrna, city limits proper. But that's the biggest thing is whatever board you're applying to, make sure you can make the time commitments. Generally, they meet once a month. There are some boards that meet quarterly. Some like the beer board doesn't have a lot of items, so they don't meet very regular. Sure. So some boards take a lot more time than others, and I think that's critical is make sure you can commit to the time. They're always on scheduled days. The BZA meets the third Thursday of the month. The library board, which I'm also on, meets the first or second Monday of the month. So, just kind of make sure you can meet the time schedule. Because that's one of the biggest problems we have is we find folks that want to serve, they want to get involved, and then when they get involved, they realize that their schedule, they can't be in Murfreesboro at 5 for a library board meeting because they work in Franklin.
Yep.
And that's something that we should already know probably before you got appointed, but that'd be a biggest thing. It helps to have experience in the board or the topic that you're looking at. If you've got experience in real estate, then you might be good on planning or BZA or some of those kind of boards. If you got experience in retail, then maybe the beer board and some of those kind of things. If you've got experience teaching or library, then that might be good for the library board. So, there are some things that help. We try to make sure that we put people in positions where their experience is a positive and it helps us, but it's not a requirement. Sometimes we need the other perspective, people that maybe don't have that experience and just have the perspective of what the citizens may want. And I think that's the key is you're representing your fellow citizens. So you're not there just necessarily for your own personal opinion, but you're there to represent the citizens just like we do.
Prior to being elected to the council, were you surprised after being elected how much time that encompasses?
Yeah, I initially, and I'll never forget it. I think it was Jeff Peach was the first person I talked to when I decided to run, and he's like, we have a council meeting on Tuesday, second Tuesday. We have a workshop on Thursday. And then you might have to serve on a board. So 3-4 days a month or whatever. Yeah, that's
3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah,
now, right?
it's what they don't tell you, and I mean, they're all optional events, but you still have to represent, and they don't tell you about all the ribbon cuttings and all the places where somebody wants a representative to come speak to the kids at school or come read a book or come do something else, and so it's quite a bit of time. It's
Rick, when he was on the commission, would tell you a lot of phone calls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I right now I manage I think 5 different email accounts.
Wow.
Because of the town and the library and my work and my personal, and so I've got 2 different cell phones. So it's a challenge. I told my wife recently that I could really use a personal assistant, and she said she's not doing it. So
Wow.
That's drawing the line in the sand, isn't it?
she was real clear. There was no question.
Back many years ago, when I first was considering running for Parks and Recreation Commissioner, I went to Coon Victory, Mary Esther's dad, and I said, "Coon, how much time will this take?" He says, "Well, whatever you put into it." Of course, okay, well, we'll see. So I ran, and then I found out real quick, it's how good a job do you want to do?
Right.
If you want to do a good job, you're going to put in more time. If you just want to, go through the motions, it doesn't take much time at all.
But just so many areas of expertise that you need to build on, that
Yeah.
you need to become knowledgeable about.
Well, the learning curve today is,
Huge.
it is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, as large as the town has become.
Yep. But actually, back in the day when I first got elected, though, under the commission form of government, there was a large learning curve there, simply because you became, head of the whole department. But, of course, the town's grown now, and so we have the town manager to handle everything, but we still have to learn about the different departments and what goes on within the departments and how their budgets are structured and so on and so forth, and it becomes interesting. It's very interesting.
And to say the least, I mean, every conversation I have with a constituent, they expect me to know everything going on in the town.
Sure.
And so to be able to represent those constituents and have a conversation, answer questions quickly or regularly, you have to be aware. I mean, you can't just be, just show up for the meetings. You can't do that.
Well, both of you have such extensive background. HG owned, small business for just about all your life.
Yeah.
And with your position with, in the corporate world as well.
Yeah, I didn't even get to that. I worked for IBM for 15 years, traveling around, and I was a service delivery manager for them. So a new contract signed, I would go in and kind of identify gaps and then close those gaps. I did that for 15 years. And then as part of that work, I started doing some work for Nissan as an IBM employee. And Nissan eventually offered me a position to stay with them and manage one of their outsourcers. And so I went to work for Nissan headquarters in 2010, and I have been there ever since. So my current job is head of legal operations. I am a manager in the legal department.
Ouch.
I tell everybody that I'm one of the only non-attorneys in the legal department. So when people ask me what do, I do everything the attorneys don't want to do. So that's pretty much it.
That's a lot then
yeah.
from attorneys I know.
Yeah. So I manage some of the paralegals. I manage some of the contractors, all the intake, all that kind of stuff. But it does give me a huge, pool of knowledge to pull from. There's lots of times that we're having executive sessions in Smyrna about upcoming litigation or, something else like that going on. And it helps to have that background to understand the process and what's happening.
I really appreciate both of you being here this morning because, so many of us citizens don't realize all the responsibilities you have as council members.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to be honest, I enjoy it. Absolutely. If I ever get to the point where it feels like work, then it'll be time for somebody else. Somebody told me when I first ran, I think it might have been Mary Esther, the mayor. She said it takes a year just to feel like you have a clue what you're doing. And then the second and third year, you actually kind of hit your stride and can get some things, accomplished or participate. And then the fourth year, you're focusing on whether or not you're running or re-electing, right? So it's a 4-year cycle, but, for a new council member, the first year and a half is you're just drinking from a fire hose. You're just trying to figure out. I remember going into one of my first council meetings, and it was Mark Atkins. We're talking about a subdivision that was coming in front of us, and Mark starts rattling off street names. And he's like, oh, isn't that over by this and near that? And here's the street. And I'm like, how do you know all these street names? How do you know where all this stuff is? I grew up in Smyrna, but it's developed so much that there's roads I don't even know anymore. And I think it was Needham, which is the road beside Toots, right? But he starts bringing up Needham, and I was like, where the heck is Needham? So I'm over there on my laptop, Google Earthing street names just to try to keep up with the conversation. And
I tell you what, there's subdivisions out there that it's hard to keep up with, not just streets, but I mean,
that's exactly right.
whole
Now we hear
subdivisions.
names of subdivisions, and we have to stop and think about where's that subdivision.
Which one is that?
Well, with y'all with the history though, it seems like to me like even now when they will name some big subdivisions coming in, then they'll say, well, that was the Carter property or this property that we grew
That's
up
the easiest
with.
way to identify
That's
it.
exactly
Identify
right.
where
Exactly
they
right.
were or what's coming in.
Yeah, the apartments in the middle of Smyrna is always going to be the Lane property to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just always, it was discussed even when before that came in and it was for sale and an open lot in town. Anytime there would be a conversation about what's available in town, everybody would say the Lane property, and we just knew exactly what we were talking about.
Well, even when you talk about Sam Ridley, when 89, it was a 2-lane road and it dead ended at the interstate.
Caution
And
light at Old Nashville Highway.
there was a gas station out there, and then we finally got the Catfish House that came in, and that was the only two things out there in the middle of nowhere
For years.
And people just don't understand how small town we were. When I started the police department in '93, I think there was 21 of us, and we're well over 100 now. So if you figure in that time span of how big just the north end and Smyrna's become.
I don't know if you've been past the police station recently. We just built a new parking lot kind of in the back left corner of the police station to house police cars, just to kind of put them in a secure. And we're putting a fence up around that. It'll be secured here real soon. But that lot, I'd say, is probably about a 75 car lot. And my house, I live behind the police station, so I go by there every day. That lot is always full of police cars. And I'm thinking, there's got to be
Who's on the road?
Yeah, there's got to be 30 or 40 more out on the road, And I mean, it's amazing when you drive past there and think about how much that's changed and grown.
Well, when you say that, I think about back to the Super Bowl in January of '85. The Saturday before that Sunday Super Bowl, it was a very pleasant, kind of a shirt sleeve day, and that evening it started raining, and then it started sleeting, and then later it started snowing, and we woke up to 17 below that morning on Super Bowl Sunday, and I think the wind chill was like 50 below, and I remember broke down with my late wife on Sam Ridley right there at the interstate, coming back from watching the ball game with some sister and her family, and there was not a single structure on Sam Ridley in January of '85.
Yeah.
And if my cousin had not been home on Blair Road, we may have frozen to death. But just shows you that just in 1985 there was nothing on Sam Ridley.
Yeah.
That would have still been considered Blair country out there then, huh?
Well, maybe.
All was.
Maybe.
My wife and I got married in '89, and I remember in '88 bringing her. She was a Brentwood girl, so brought her home to meet the parents in Smyrna. And we got off at Sam Ridley, and we're driving down through there, and she say, I know she was thinking at this, where is he taking me, And I remember telling her, and I joke about it all the time with her, that I was like, all this land that's available down through here is going to build up, and eventually it's just going to be just a whole nother city. I was like, I wish I had the money to invest, because it's coming. And I tell her all the time, I was like, if you had just helped me invest back then, look at where we'd be now, because it was all just open farmland. I think the Waldrons owned almost all of it, at least Old Nashville Highway forward.
They do.
And I think they still own some
Or
of
the
it.
Blairs or
yeah.
one of them.
So probably couldn't have bought it anyway. But that's what I told her back in '88. I told her this is going to develop into metropolis that it's developed into.
Yes, sir.
And
It still is.
and
still is.
As I don't know, good or bad as that is, I will tell you this: that retail and tax base that's developed out there is what's keeping the town of Smyrna so in the black that we are. Sure. It's financially made us very self-sufficient. Property taxes are as low as they've ever been. I think since the 50s or 60s.
Just about the same as they were
Yeah,
back then.
we haven't had a tax increase since 2008 or 2009.
Right, and then of course it's back down with
back down to the 50s. But the reason our property taxes stay low, and every year we have to stay revenue neutral, so that tax rate actually drops a little bit every year, is because of that sales tax base that's coming off of Sam Ridley. Our state's shared tax and our sales tax is our number one source of income, and that's why HG always ends every council meeting with buy local, shop local.
Amen.
And it's definitely working. Along those lines, we've seen a couple of the last 2 months, we've seen kind of a level off of that. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. But for the whole time I've been on the council, every month it's a 5 or 6% increase. It just continues to climb, and that's why we're able to do things like a $30 million water treatment upgrade and build things like Cedarstone Park and Jeannie Lane road projects and stuff. We're doing that with sales tax dollars and not property tax dollars.
Exactly. Speaking of taxes, we're going to take our first break and pay some bills, and we'll be back with you in just a minute. You're listening to Town Council members H.G. Cole and Steve Sullivan. We'll be right back.
Finding that missing shin guard, remembering whether it's a home or away game, getting the right kid to the right playing field on the right day. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple so you can worry about more important things, like not being that fan. Oh, come on, Ref! That's simple human sense.
Rayburn Insurance in Smyrna.
Come see me, Rick Hall, at Rayburn Insurance in downtown Smyrna today.
Hey guys, if you notice a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Be sure to schedule your health assessment at Low T Center. They offer the convenience of physician-monitored, self-inject at-home testosterone treatments with an average payment of $150 a month, cash pay, including labs and medication. If you don't live near a Low T Center or just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy, shipping treatments directly to you. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and Americare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
Don't forget, WGNS is more than happy to list the activities of your local church, civic organizations, or social groups. Get them to us at least 2 weeks before they occur. Maybe you're thinking about going to MTSU. There's a tour of the campus starting at 9 o'clock Saturday morning, February the 10th. Everyone meets in the Student Union building. That's 9 o'clock Saturday morning, February the 10th. Show your special someone how much they mean to you. Take them to the Tennessee Philharmonic's Big Band Valentine Concert. That'll be at 7 o'clock Tuesday evening, February 13th, in the View at the Fountains, over on Medical Center Parkway. You can get the tickets online at the Tennessee Philharmonic's website. Murfreesboro Medical Clinic Pediatrics' 5th Annual Storybook Breakfast will be at Overall Creek Elementary School on Saturday morning, February the 3rd. And there are 2 breakfasts. One's at 8:30 and the other's at 10. You can get the tickets online at the United Way website. That's this Saturday. And those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather.
Few spotty rain showers here this afternoon. Partial sunshine develops, a high in the mid-50s. Tonight, slight chance for rain early, cloudy and low near 34. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 32.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's EV Ready program provides members with $50 in bill credits toward the installation of wiring to support 240-volt charging in their garages. Learn more at driveev.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning and welcome back to the second segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And it's our honor this morning to have Town Councilman H.G. Cole and Steve Sullivan. And we've been reminiscing about the past, I guess. I think, Steve, you have several slideshow presentations that's not going to work on the radio, but you can talk about them at least. Maybe some projects that are coming, either coming to fruition or about to get started, or.
Sure. Yeah. I think one of our most favorite ones is a completely managed and ran town project. You know, a lot of times our projects are TDOT involved, Sam Ridley, Jefferson Pike, Amberville Road, and that means that we have less control, right? We have less ability to move the poles, right? So Jeannie Lane is coming. If you've been out there, you probably have noticed the barrels and the projects, the construction work around Sam Ridley in that area.
On your trip to Chick-fil-A, you've been.
You definitely noticed it.
I was going to say, a lot of people know Jeannie Lane. That's so. Yeah. If you're trying to get your Chick-fil-A and all the barrels out there, that's what we're talking about.
That's the road behind Chick-fil-A, between Academy and Chick-fil-A. There, on the other side of Sam Ridley, we have President's Place, which pretty much runs the length of Sam Ridley. You can turn there next to Stonecrest and almost get all the way to Toots, right? You can get all the way down Sam Ridley without having to come back out on Sam Ridley. And that really helps alleviate traffic and in and out traffic on Sam Ridley. Helps the flow of traffic on Sam Ridley a lot. So on the other side of the road, we're doing the same thing with Jeannie Lane. We're extending Jeannie Lane from Old Nashville Highway, where it's at now, really from Wolverine Trail over to Potomac. Potomac is the new section of road that we put in next to, I guess, there's a 7-Eleven there and Tommy's Car Wash and a couple other new hotel back there. That was all part of the Sam Ridley improvement plan. If you remember, we moved a red light that was next to Logan's. We basically moved that to Potomac, gave you a back entrance into Potomac, and now the next phase of that is connecting Jeannie Lane.
And to take that,
Potomac.
You got to look at the method to the madness of some of that stuff, because one of our big goals that I think all of the Smyrna citizens' big goals is to have an interchange at Rocky Fork Road.
That's right.
And one of the things that the state told us we had to do was make the traffic flow at Almaville and make the traffic flow at Sam Ridley. Right. So all of this is kind of entering into the making the traffic flow at Sam Ridley, and of course the one making it flow at Almaville is in the works and is much more of a state project than anything that we could do. But sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're
go
good.
right ahead.
Yeah, so the Jeannie Lane project, I believe it's later this year. It'll be fully completed. It's really moving along. Late this year, maybe November, October time frame. But essentially, you'll be able to get on Jeannie Lane down by IHOP, or I was at the other end. Yeah, the IHOP or the theater there, and you can stay on Jeannie Lane all the way to Motlow, and that'll keep you from having to come out. If you're going from Chick-fil-A to Lowe's, you already can jump on Jeannie Lane, but now if you're going Chick-fil-A to maybe Andy's Custards on the other side up there, you can just jump across the road there.
Target to Motlow.
There you go.
My perception is that construction opportunities that the town takes care of compared to the ones you partner with the state, y'all move at warp speed compared to state projects.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's one of the things that, coming from the corporate world, that was a little bit of a challenge when I first got elected, was understanding the speed of government versus the speed of private industry, right? Oh, yeah. And I could tell you I had many conversations with back then Harry Gill about, why is this not moving? And Brian Hercules and I had pretty much one of our only real conflicts that we ever had was over mast arms at Stonecrest. And, we had this project to put in a red light, and the project's moving along, and us council members had made the commitment to the constituents that we would not allow those apartments to rent until that red light was in place. Well, the mast arms got ordered, but they're 18 months out. And so we couldn't put that red light up, and the apartments wanted to go ahead and open. And we're like, no, we said no. And so we ended up putting up a temporary red light to do that. But one of the arguments I had with Brian was, why didn't we go to those mast arms early? We knew we're going to need them.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that every one of those mast arms is unique for that intersection. They're not all just standard size.
Have to be engineered.
So it's got to be
project.
engineered for that particular intersection.
Okay.
And so you can't just go out and order a bunch of mast arms and have them sitting around, right? But I didn't understand that. And I was arguing with it, but we should have been better prepared. So, but yeah, that's a perfect example of when the state gets involved, it slows down even more. And
well, you'd be surprised some of the studies that have to be done. I mean,
we had a bat study.
The bat study, and then there's the historical background study. It's
Goodness.
That was in that same area, right where behind the church
FEMA?
there. That was
Not FEMA. It's
T-Deck.
No. What's the one where they're doing the historical background on it? I can't.
I don't know which one.
It sounds like FEMA, but it's not. But I mean, and they're going back to see if what needs to be done here as far as preserving any antiquities or what have you.
Yeah.
With Jenny Lane going all the way over to Motlow, and we've got the new big complex that's going to go in on the across, let's say, from the YMCA that's going in over there.
Summit property, yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about Jefferson Pike and trying to get a red light up there, and I know years ago there was a deal with the state and Smyrna and Laverne as far as getting that bridge repaired and everything, and I know it's several years down. Is any of that going to tie in to maybe over to Jefferson Pike to maybe cut that road off and maybe close it? Or
there's been lots of discussions between us and Laverne on that. The road that comes out behind Motlow would actually connect right into a subdivision there, but
no-brainer.
Laverne has not wanted to open that. We've talked to them multiple times, and it's been a choice that Laverne's made to not allow that open. I think the people that live in that subdivision see it as what it would be. It would be a cut through, and it would probably generate quite a bit of traffic in their neighborhood. And
well,
they just
bring
don't
them
want
out to a red light, because how much does a red light cost for the
I
town?
think if I lived in that subdivision, I would want to be able to come over to Sam Ridley a whole lot easier than what they can do. Right now, they have to go to the Old Nashville Highway or to 41 and come around. But at this point, that's a Laverne choice. We've been willing to do our side of that and connect it, but Laverne.
But if you drive through that street, it's a narrow, residential street, and those people won't have a. With what it's going to require there, they won't have a front yard left, and I'm sure those homes have been in their families for years and years. And of course, the light at 41 Lowry Street and Jefferson Pike is well in the works.
Yeah,
and along with that light, they're also going to rework those dangerous intersections at Sam Ridley, the approaches and ramps and such as that.
Yeah, there's some plans. I think maybe we have seen a drawing, but to change some of the ramps there at Sam Ridley and 41. But honestly, to your specific point, connecting over to Jefferson Pike, it's a joint effort, and at this point, Laverne's not really interested.
I understand.
It's amazing to me for someone who remembers Laverne not even having a red light, and I think at Smyrna,
not even being incorporated.
Right. Well, true, that too, and I think back in that day, maybe Smyrna had one red light right there in front of
we
Regal.
had three, but I think that was a, I always figured that Mr. Ridley didn't want to be from a one light town, so he put three up.
Well, I thought the air base.
It could
did
be.
we have a blinking light there at the?
But it was never on.
We
okay.
I know that I remember caution light at Old Nashville Highway and Sam Ridley forever, and then the operating.
We're talking long before Sam Ridley was ever cut through there.
The operating red light in the middle of town. I think in the 80s, I think there was only 5 maybe. There wasn't much more, because we used to joke about it. That there's only a few red lights in town. It's easy to shoot them out when you know where they all are.
You brought up earlier about Anvil Road. I think I saw in the council meeting y'all were doing acquisition or looking at. How's that all going to work?
Yeah, we've had a couple of conversations with TDOT. Well, we've had a lot of conversations with TDOT about Anvil Road. I think that's the next project that's got to be tackled even before the interchange. HG kind of alluded to it earlier. Probably 7 to 10 years ago when we first started having conversations, or maybe even longer than that, with TDOT, one of the things they said was, we're not sure you need an interchange. You've got to prove to us that Annabelle Road and Sam Ridley is kind of overtaxed, that it's not just a design problem, that it's actually a flow problem. And that's why you see the third lane at Sam Ridley and all the improvements we made, closing left turns and moving red lights. We're trying to make it flow as absolutely well as it can for the current design. We've got to do the same thing on the Annabelle Road side. There's clearly a bottleneck at the interchange there. You know, when you come under the bridge, it's just tight, and there's not a lot you can do there. So there's going to have to be a wholesale change. And we've talked to TDOT. It not only includes that, but we've also talked to them about Annabelle Road all the way out to 96 and widening. They have kind of said that they probably won't do the same project like they did at Jefferson Pike, where they just do a 5-lane widening. There's just too many residential houses down through there that would require purchasing or taking out. So what we're doing and what TDOT's going to do is, as developments come in and as things happen, we're going to add turning lanes. So you've already started seeing that. As you see subdivisions come in on Annabelle Road, we'll widen that road and add a turning lane. So I think for the near future, Annabelle Road's going to, the road itself is going to improve in sections as developments open, and then eventually it'll become a no-brainer. We'll be able to connect a couple of things, right? But the interchange, you know, it's going to be a diverging diamond. That's kind of already been set. It's in. There's a couple of steps it has to get into. It's got to get into the TDOT budget process to get funding and then be able to move. We've been in the top 1 or 2 projects for the 24 corridor for the last year or two. And honestly, we thought last October that we were going to get that final funding, and it didn't happen. It got pushed again. So we met with them again in the last month or so, and so we're actively pushing and working with TDOT. They've got a budget that they've got to manage. We've got a budget we've got to manage, and you know, we have representatives that work for us every day in Nashville. The Jigsaw Group, which is Beecher Frazier and his group. They're employed by the town of Smyrna. They're in Nashville every day, and they represent Smyrna in these conversations. So that's one of the things we've tasked them with, is you get in front of TDOT, get in front of whoever you have to, and keep this conversation on the table. Every time a discussion comes up about another TDOT project, we want them to say Smyrna Annabelle Road. And that's.
But you know, you got to give a whole lot of credit there to Mary Esther and
Absolutely.
Brian also in keeping Smyrna's name in the forefront of it all.
They were in Nashville, I believe, last week, meeting with TDOT. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a regular process.
Blows me away because the county has had to hire a lobbyist to talk to our own state delegates here in this county to try to get funding. And
I think we've all done that. I know we have. I think Murfreesboro has. The county has, and it's not just our delegates, but that's who they're talking to. They're talking to our delegates, and then they're talking to all the different committees that you have to have approval from and try to help drive the projects.
I have an idea for to add to the city coffers. You could develop your own television show by putting a camera at the Diamond Interchange, because I've watched us try to use the roundabout, and if we'd had a camera at the roundabout, you could have published that on kind of like funniest videos.
It's people are starting to get used to them. You know, there's a really large one over in McEwen that I drive through to go to headquarters every day, or a couple times a week. I don't
you got to sit up in your seat and grab the wheel with 2 hands and let's go.
Every time I go through it, what scares me is the other people. Right? It's not me at all, because I see you know, a soccer mom coming through, and she's got a coffee in one hand and a oatmeal in the other, and some kid in the back seat jumping around, and I'm like, she's gonna just plow right into me.
It's coming. You're listening to the Tuesday Morning Roundtable with Rick and Wayne. We got council members H.G. Cole and Steve Sullivan in with us from the town of Smyrna, but we're going to take our second break and be right back with you in just a minute.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
At Middle Point, we are making major investments to transform our facility and our impact on the community. To date, we've invested $7.5 million in our on-site gas collection and control system, including the installation of 84 new gas wells and nearly 4,000 linear feet of horizontal collectors. These improvements have led to a 98% drop in odor reports, corresponding to a 52% increase in the landfill gas we collect. Follow along at middlepointlandfill.com.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstireprostn.com.
Rutherford County is one of the fastest growing communities in Tennessee. This is Mike Klassen, the general manager at Middle Point Landfill. As a Class 1 landfill, Middle Point accepts non-hazardous municipal solid waste, approved special waste, and commercial waste. We have served this region for 2 decades, providing free disposal to all Rutherford County residents and low-cost disposal to Rutherford County businesses. Learn more at middlepointlandfill.com. For public services, we are sustainability in action.
Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp today. We have representatives nationwide who will explain the InventHelp process step by step. Over 10,000 patents have been secured through InventHelp's patent referral services. The InventHelp data bank includes thousands of companies who have agreed to review new ideas. We've been helping inventors since 1984. Let's help you next. Get started today.
Call 1-800-217-4380. That's 1-800-217-4380. Again, 1-800-217-4380.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And welcome back to the final segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And we've had a lot of fun this morning, and we've had a few laughs, but mostly it's been great information shared with us by town council members H.G. Cole and Steve Sullivan. And gentlemen, again, it's been an honor to be with you this morning, and glad to get to continue talking with you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Let's talk about Jefferson Pike, because it's coming along pretty good. I think we're still a year out, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a 3-year project, which I think technically ends at the end of this year, so still about a year out. But if you've been down there, it looks like they're moving along really quickly, and there's lots of places where you're on the new pavement, and everybody's kind of getting excited. The traffic, it's just going to be so much nicer. Now for years I've avoided Jefferson Pike, so it's a whole different mindset now that might be the best way to get in and out of town. We're extending sewer and water and gas all the way out through there. Our urban growth boundary goes almost to Mona Road on the other side of 840. So we are in progress of running things out to the corner and then turning, following 840 over towards the racetrack. There's some developments, potential developments that's being discussed and worked on over by the interchange at the racetrack that would be in Smyrna city limits, and we're looking at trying to make sure we can feed utilities out there. We have the help of some developers who have promised to help us with some of that cost to help feed them. So that's a huge benefit for the town. Mike Collingshead and Smyrna Ready Mix have been a great partner with Smyrna. Their facility there is top notch. It's I don't know if you've ever been out there or had a chance to tour it, but it's amazing. And
the property they have adjacent to it is still, there's quite a bit there that and they've got great plans for it.
I can't be more proud of a Smyrna family than Island Head family. I grew up going to the Y, and I remember when Ryan and Jeff were coming to the Y with Mike, and they were kids. And Mike and I would be in the sauna, and his kids would be jumping in and out of the pool. And now they're running multi-million-dollar company, and they're just really, really proud of how they've represented Smyrna. Part of that project, they gave the town of Smyrna a couple of acres to build a fire hall, and we're working on that. It's right there at the corner.
And Steve's even got a picture of it.
I do.
That doesn't.
You can.
Do you do that?
Diana, and hold it up there and show the picture.
There's your picture.
It's we broke ground on that. Already did ribbon cutting. It's well underway. The interchange or the intersection for the fire hall will have kind of a specialty entrance. We designed it so that trucks don't have to back on and off of Jefferson Pike. They pull in from the back and basically pull through. And then we'll have some signalization there on Jefferson Pike, so when the call goes out, the road will stop and they'll be able to pull right out and keep going. It really won't affect flow very much.
Something I think is an amazing blessing to us here in the Middle Tennessee area is that, we just been going through quite a bit of drought, here throughout the state. And I can remember several years ago, Atlanta basically not knowing if they were going to have water or not. And Lake Lanier apparently is one of their big feeds. And seeing some pictures of this lake almost looked like a mud puddle. And even, through all these times when we've had the drought, we've always had a good full lake and have not had to worry about water.
Yeah, we get our water from Stewart's Creek. We pull it right out in Smyrna, and water treatment plants over there off Jefferson Pike. And you might not know this, but Smyrna is one of the only towns in Middle Tennessee that has to buy its water. We have an agreement with TVA, and we have to actually purchase the water. We purchase, I don't know how many millions of gallons a day, but we have an agreement with them not to go over that amount. And then we get credit for water that we put back.
Right.
And the water we put back is cleaner than the water we take out. So we put it back in and get a credit back. And then we also provide some water over to Nolensville and probably, I don't know about Laverne citizens. There are a few Laverne citizens that I know we provide water for.
We also have an agreement with Laverne.
Yeah.
Murfreesboro.
So, yeah, that's actually one of our I kind of a little bit of a crown jewel in our town is our water treatment system, and our pump stations and stuff are top notch. And we just invested another $30 million in our treatment plant, which got us to we're probably good for the next foreseeable future 10-15 years in capacity now. Which we got a plan for, and that's based on current growth rates, right? So if things slow down, we'll be better longer. If things speed up, we may have to come in sooner, right? But,
sure.
But we're trying to stay ahead of the curve.
The Corps regulates how much water you can take out and how much water that you can put back in. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of our treated water, of course, we have in a reuse system. Mm-hmm. You see the pink fire hydrants and such as that. Those are water which is being returned. Yeah, they'd rather you put it into the ground and let the ground filter it rather than pour it directly back into the.
I'm pretty sure most of our sprinkler system at the golf course
absolutely
is reuse.
It's piped all the way down to Stonecrest.
Yeah.
I think the Siegel sports, the high schools, or maybe at least the soccer fields are. Do they call that gray water?
It's not gray water. Okay. It's just reuse. Gray water, I think, is before it's actually treated.
Yeah, okay. Even the reuse water gets some treatment.
Okay.
So it's not considered gray. Gray would be, water right out of your sink or your shower, and it's not like that. It's actually, it is processed some.
Okay.
It's just not to the level of being repotable.
Well, no, they're having to use it for, to water different areas because you've got, like I said, you got water you have to put back.
Well, if it's treated, then somebody's got to pay for it. The state regulations don't let you just have free water there. Yeah. But the idea that like I said before, if you're putting it onto the ground, then before it hits the aquifer again, it's been filtered naturally by Mother Nature, which puts it in better shape than what we're pouring into the lake and then pulling back out.
Yeah, I mentioned we're the only ones that pay for it. And just give you a little bit of context there. So Percy Priest Reservoir was one of the stated purposes of that reservoir when they built it was not drinking water. It was recreation. And because TVA and the government didn't build it for drinking water, we have to buy the water since we're using it for drinking water. And even though we're technically upstream at Stewart's Creek, we're feeding Percy Priest, so we have to pay for that water.
We were in legal tangles for them for over 20
Yeah,
years.
for a long time, and we just recently 10 years or so, got the credits. You know, for a long time they weren't giving us credits, and we negotiated for the credits to get some of that taken back off. And so we have to manage that pretty close. We have to keep an eye on how many millions of gallons we're consuming and how many millions of gallons we're selling. And then, you know, as we have these negotiations with TVA, we may have to up it or may have to ask for more or whatever. And, you know, so far we've been able to stay well ahead of that curve, and we've been managing it well. The more credits we get, you know, we can take out more, right? So sometimes it's a savings, sometimes it just means we can get more, right? So, you know, other like Old Hickory, that reservoir was designed for drinking water, so they don't have to pay for their water. That was the reason it was built. But and Murfreesboro gets it out far enough above the reservoir that
Stones River.
Yeah, they're not technically in the reservoir basin, so they don't have to pay.
But
so
it gets low and their quality goes
it
down
does.
because it's so high up on the
Well,
stream.
I mentioned the water we put back is cleaner than the water we take out. We get it downstream from Murfreesboro, so no offense to Murfreesboro, but we're cleaning their water further before we put it back in.
Yeah.
And what's I think about it is how scary it is that river is so important to this county.
Yeah.
And keeping it safe. And
Well, it
everything
has
else
been
with
several hundred years. You know,
yeah.
Old Jefferson was built there for a reason, because of the flow of water and the ability to move boats up and down the river. And a lot of us don't even really think about Stones River as being that crucial. We think
As an
of,
artery.
Yeah, we think of it more as like a creek we used to play in. You know,
Amen.
swam in it and boated in it and played in it. And we don't realize that it sustains our life and has for hundreds of years.
I can't imagine anything of size, you know, going up and down Stones River.
It does seem odd. You know, you see
Well, you know, our thoughts of it, though, were mostly on the dam-controlled end of it. And, you know, I'm sure that there were times when the Stones River probably went almost dry. But, you know, I think that Jefferson, where the convergence of the East and West Fork rivers were that was like the end of the line. I don't think that they could really take a barge or a flatboat, if you will, further up the river than that.
Sure.
But still, just to think about those times and, you know, what it was like at Jefferson, I mean, it's pretty amazing to think about how they operated
when you
back
go
in
across
those
the
days.
bridge there at Jefferson Pike, and especially in the winter this time of year, you look out and you see the water low, and you know looks like it's almost about to run dry. You know, as wide as that basin is, it just kind of makes you think about. I wonder how much water really flowed through there before we started altering the flows.
Sure.
You know, and how it really looked and how it flowed.
I've always looked for old maps, trying to find something aerial wise, especially like in the 40s when they had the air base, and I've never been able to find anything. It's usually covered by trees.
Yeah, I think probably it was a lot more water flowing through there than you realize, because they dug out the basin for Percy Priest, which is now taking up a lot of water.
Yes.
So that water would have been bottlenecked into those streams and into those tributaries, and it would have been a pretty flowing river, I think, pretty heavy flow.
Well, unfortunately, we've only gone through about 4 of y'all's slides, so you're going to have to come back and schedule
sure.
again with us.
That
if
was
y'all don't
actually the
mind
plan, just to make y'all have to bring us back.
Word fillers. So
hey,
we're
that's
fine
our
with
pleasure.
that. But
God bless you for serving.
yep.
Thank you.
Well, and think about the years that you put in that's greatly appreciated also. Is there, I guess Smyrna Town Council is about the only thing you never did, wasn't it?
I did serve on a couple of committees.
Boards,
too.
right,
A couple
right.
of boards, yes.
Ricky,
sir.
were you on the town council ever?
No.
No, you were a commissioner.
I was just, yeah.
Yeah.
He took the harder stripes. He
Yeah.
got hit
Well, I
by the
was
county
always in
commission.
you figure I worked for the city, there was no way to run,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I went
yeah.
the county route. And,
Right.
and I learned my lessons pretty quick in a short 4 years.
Grateful for your leadership.
Yeah. But hope everybody enjoyed our show today. We got another one good show lined up for you again next week. But everybody have a safe and great day, and we'll see you next week.